Something happened to you. Maybe it was 6 months ago, maybe it was just last night. A message that ended something, a door that closed quietly, a person who walked out, a phone call that split your life into a before and an after. And on the outside, you handled it. You said the right things. You told everyone you were fine. You kept moving, but keeping moving and actually being okay are two completely different things. And somewhere between those two things, a gap opened up that you have been falling through ever since. But here is what nobody saw. 3 weeks later, you are sitting somewhere ordinary. Your car, your kitchen, the edge of your bed, the engine is off, and you are not going anywhere. You open your laptop at 9 in the morning and stare at the same screen until 2 in the afternoon, and nothing has happened. You are not sad, exactly. You are not crying. Something inside you just switched off, and you cannot find the switch to turn it back on. Then you look around at other people. You watch someone take a hit that looks worse than yours and stand back up in a week, and a very quiet, very ugly question starts forming. What is wrong with my wiring? Why can they carry this and I cannot? Most people will hand you the same sentences. Stay positive, be strong, time heals everything. And every one of those sentences will make you feel more broken than you already did, because none of them tell you what to actually do. Here is the truth. Mentally strong people are not the ones who do not fall. Everyone falls. That shutdown you felt is not a character flaw, and it is not a choice. It happens automatically in the brain of the toughest person you have ever met, exactly the same way it happened in yours. The difference is one specific mental skill that almost nobody has ever been told exists, which means most people spend their entire lives trying to fix the wrong thing. Welcome back to Teeh Psyche. Today we are breaking down the real psychology of resilience, not the poster quotes, the actual machinery. What happens inside a mind that does not break? Why that machinery goes missing? And how you build it, starting from exactly where you are right now. The science nobody told you. In 1967, two psychologists named Martin Seligman and Stephen Meyer ran one of the most famous experiments in the history of psychology. Animals were exposed to a stressor they could not escape. Later, when escape became easy and obvious, they did not even try. They just lay down and took it. Seligman and Myers called it learned helplessness. If life beats you enough times, you learn that nothing you do matters. For 50 years, that was the accepted answer. Then in 2016, the same two men published a new paper and said something researchers almost never say: we got it backwards. Shutting down was never learned. It is the factory setting. When a mammal takes prolonged pain, it cannot escape a small structure deep in the brainstem floods the system with serotonin. And that flood actively suppresses the urge to fight back. It is automatic. It is standard equipment in every human being on this planet, including you. The thing that has to be learned is not helplessness. The thing that has to be learned is control. There is a region behind your forehead whose job is to detect whether your actions have any influence over what is happening to you. When that region detects control, it reaches down and switches the shutdown off. Your brain does not come pre-installed with strength. It comes pre-installed with collapse. Strength is the software you have to build yourself. Think of it like the electrical panel in a house. When too much current hits the system, a breaker trips and cuts the power. That is not a defect. A house without that mechanism burns down. But a breaker is built to be reset by hand. The entire question of whether you have power tonight comes down to one thing. Do you know where the panel is, and do you know that your hand is what resets it? Most people spend their lives sitting in the dark, waiting for the lights to come back by themselves. Why the detector never developed. Your control detector builds through repetition. Repeated experiences of pushing against something difficult and watching it move. And modern life has quietly removed almost every opportunity to get those repetitions. Look at what fills your day: the economy, political news designed to keep you angry, someone's opinion of your work, an algorithm deciding whether strangers see what you created. Every one of these is a genuine stressor, and you have zero control over any of them. You absorb them for hours daily. That is your brain receiving pain it cannot act on, which is the precise condition that deepens shutdown. And look at what you have eliminated. Food arrives instead of being cooked. Anything streams instead of being waited for. Discomfort gets scrolled past. Difficult conversations get left unread. Every controllable difficulty has been quietly deleted from your life. Your day is full of stress you cannot influence and comfort that requires no effort. Nothing remains in your week where you struggle against something and win. Your control detector has no evidence that your actions change outcomes, so it never learned to switch the shutdown off. You are not weak. You were never given the repetitions. That is a completely different problem. And unlike weakness, it is fixable. But knowing it is fixable means nothing if you do not understand what has been actively working against you. Because most people are not just untrained, they are running patterns every single day that make recovery harder. The 3 traps keeping you in the dark. Trap 1, protecting your peace. You have learned a vocabulary for avoidance that sounds like wisdom. Setting boundaries. Honoring where you are, not forcing it. And sometimes genuinely, you are protecting something real. But to be honest for 10 seconds, when you cancel because you are not in the right headspace, when you avoid the difficult conversation for the 4th year, when you quit something hard in week 2, every one of those was a controllable difficulty. Every one was a repetition you deleted. Avoidance feels like relief, which feels like proof you made the right call. Meanwhile, the stress you cannot control stays fully switched on. You are protecting yourself from the only stress that could make you stronger while drowning in the only stress that guarantees you stay fragile. Your world quietly shrinks every year, and you mistake that shrinking for peace. Trap 2, the fairness contract. Something genuinely unfair happened. You were betrayed by someone you were loyal to. And instead of moving, your mind opens a case file. You replay it. You build the argument. You collect evidence. You want reality to admit it made a mistake before you agree to move forward. But reality never shows up to court. So the person who hurt you controls the timeline of your recovery. You handed them the key and called it standing your ground. Being right and being free are almost never the same thing. Trap 3, fusing the hit to your identity. There is a difference between the business failed and I am a failure. Between she left and I am someone who gets left. In the first version, something happened to you. In the second version, something was revealed about you. When you attach the event to your identity, recovery becomes mechanically impossible. Fixing a bad year is a project. Fixing who you fundamentally are is a life sentence. Your brain does not attempt tasks it is classified as impossible, so it shuts down. Every setback becomes an existential event instead of just a difficult season. You stop taking risks because every failure now carries the weight of what it says about you permanently, and that weight is too heavy for anyone to carry into a new attempt. The 4 laws that build the reset. The goal is not a mind that cannot be knocked down. The goal is shorter distance between the hit and your first controlled action. That is the entire skill. Law 1. Find the smallest controllable lever. After a hit, stop asking why this happened to me. Ask instead, what is the smallest thing in front of me right now that will move if I push it? Make the bed. Send one message. Walk to the end of the street. It will feel insulting compared to the size of what happened. Do it anyway. You are not solving your life. You are feeding your brain one piece of evidence that your actions still change things. That evidence is what flips the panel back on. Law 2, choose your stress instead of only receiving it. Researchers studied hundreds of managers through one of the biggest corporate upheavals in American business history. 2/3 fell apart, 1/3 came through stronger. The difference was not talent. They treated difficulty as something to engage with rather than survive. You build that by deliberately inserting controllable hardship back into a life that has deleted it. Train when you do not feel like it. Have the conversation this week. Finish the difficult thing. These are repetitions. You are manufacturing the training data your brain never received. Law 3, flexibility over rigidity. Research tracking people through bereavement, disaster, and combat consistently found that resilience is the majority outcome. Around 65% of people exposed to severe trauma showed few or no lasting symptoms. But what those people shared was not emotional armor, it was flexibility. They could feel it fully when feeling helped and set it down when setting it down helped. They matched the response to what the moment needed. A steel rod does not bend right until the moment it snaps. Anyone who has decided they will never cry or never need anyone has not built strength. They have built something that only works once. Law 4, build something the hit cannot touch. The people who came through the hardest circumstances intact had something they were committed to that the disruption could not reach. When your entire identity lives in one place, losing that place destroys everything. If your identity is spread across 5 things losing, one takes out one wall in a building that still stands. Build that now while nothing is on fire. Nobody builds the foundation during the flood. What this actually costs. When you genuinely become harder to destabilize, some people will not experience it as strength. The people who could move you with silence or volume will find the handle they always used is no longer attached to anything. They will say you have changed. They will say you have gotten cold, and there is a quieter cost. When you stop visibly falling apart, people stop checking on you. You carry real things alone, not because nobody loves you, but because you got so good at the reset that nobody noticed the breaker tripped. But here is what waits on the other side. You will still get hit. You will still have the parking lot night. What changes is the length of the stay. What used to take 9 months takes 4 weeks. What used to take a month takes a day. And somewhere underneath your conscious thinking, your brain finally accumulates enough evidence to believe one sentence. Whatever this is, I have come back from worse. And I know where the switch is, not a mind that cannot be knocked down, a mind that has stopped being afraid of the floor because it has been there enough times to know the way back up. The switch was never somewhere else. It has always been exactly where your hand already is. Out of the 3 traps we covered today, which one has been running your life? The peace protection, the fairness contract, or fusing the hit to who you are? Drop it in the comments. And if this landed, send it to someone who has been quiet lately. Subscribe to Teeh Psyche for more hidden psychology every week.